number
Can you make sure this keeps recording?
19.
Time.
Got it? So for the final, we got chapter 19, chapter 16, and chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
7, 16, and 19, that will be the final test. And the final test is on December the 12th, right? So that will be a Tuesday. The final test for the lab will be then the week after that, which is what? December the 17th. Got it? So this is where we're going to work it out. So the lecture first, and then the lab final. So great. So here, this is very straightforward. These are really complicated. It's about looking at the data and trying to figure out what is the story here. So these are extreme environments, we call it. So we've really seen so far bacteria living in soil, water, air, and the human body. So now we're going to go into what you call extreme environments on Earth. What do you mean by extreme? Based on what? Temperature, moisture means what? Humidity. Desert, right? Or the opposite, super humid, super tropical, like the Amazon, right? Places where you have a lot of precipitation. The pH can be extreme, low pH. We're going to see a couple of places in Chile. They call it these copper mines, the Atacama Desert, they call it. So it's very dry, and the pH is very, very acidic. So salinity means what? If you've been to the Middle East, and I haven't, that's part of my bucket list. So
I'll take it.
I go there, and I go to the Dead Sea. What is the deal with the Dead Sea? It's a lot of what? Salt. And then you see people floating all over. You cannot sink. So that's another one, salinity. So contaminants. You live in a state, unfortunately, that is highly polluted, right? So there is a lot of contamination in New Jersey, and that's what they think. We have issues with cancer clusters all over the state. Kids with a lot of autism. We're the #1 state when it comes to autism.
Jersey?
United States. Yeah, Jersey.
Wait.
Jersey, man, #1. They don't think so. Why? Because they think, maybe because we're so industrialized, right? And New Jersey was the cradle of manufacturing. Back in the days. Patterson, New Jersey, if you go to the downtown area, got beautiful buildings though, because they used to have a lot of manufacturing there. And that started with Alexander Hamilton. I'm sure you know who the guy was. So he was the first Secretary of Treasury. So we have industrialization in Jersey since the beginning of the country. So you have a lot of pharmaceuticals. This was the cradle of the pharmaceutical industry too. New Jersey, right? So it's always being very industrialized. We had the second highest income in the United States, right? Mm-hmm. That means the second richest state in the United States. There are more people here with a lot of income compared to any other states other than whom? Who's the #1 when it comes to income?
California.
California.
Not even close.
Really?
Connecticut.
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 Because all the rich people in like New York go to Connecticut. That's why.
Sometimes it's Connecticut, sometimes Maryland. So, and then we're always #2 when it comes to the highest income. Well, it's very expensive to live in Jersey, right? So you know how it is, So pollution is going to be a problem because we all live nearby either chemical plants, right? And the state is the crowded state in the United States too. How many people will they have in Jersey?
Us? Too many.
How many? Anybody knows the numbers here?
I'll take a guess.
Yes.
20 million? 30?
Oh no, it's too much though.
Just in Bergen County or like a
No, in New Jersey, the whole state.
8?
8, 9 million people. That's a lot though, because it's a very small, in the state of New Jersey. That's a lot though.
Isn't Bergen County the most congested?
Yes, Bergen County got almost 1 million people.
Yeah.
So it's really nuts, you know what I'm saying? So, well, you see it when you go around driving, so when I come out of the gym every day, it's around 5, 6 o'clock though, and it takes forever, because everybody's coming through it, right? So this is the biggest metropolitan area in the whole United States. Manhattan, New Jersey, right? Connecticut. So contaminants are going to be a problem, So the gas station nearby my house, the Gulf, they replaced, the tank on the ground like at least 4 times in the last 20 years.
Why not like gas station?
Because they're leaking, they got so many problems. So therefore, got it? You pay a price when you live in a place that, #1, you got a lot of jobs, which is great. I was working for these companies for 20 years. I never had to relocate. I went to Boston twice, tour of duty, in 2 different companies though. And I came back to Jersey and I got like at least 6, 7 jobs And I didn't have to relocate because of what? You can drive, right? It's not that far away. You know, it takes some time because of the traffic, but the distance isn't really that bad. Have you been to LaGuardia Airport from here?
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Wait.
When it
LaGuardia?
comes to distance, LaGuardia,
Oh, distance is not bad, but traffic.
traffic, exactly. That's going to slow you down. You know what I'm saying? So got it. Contaminants is a problem when you have a lot of people with a lot of industry. So it's good. You get jobs, though, right? People don't have too many problems finding jobs here. You know, so but you pay a price for that. You know, that's the problem. So great. Low temperature. We're gonna go over a couple. This is very simple. So where is this located? Well, excuse me. There is a valley in the Antarctica called the McMurdo, and you can see the picture here. Oh man, it looks so beautiful though. There's a lake there. Look at that. What a beauty. But it's cold as hell. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. You know what I'm saying? So you can see right there. I think that I can show you some tents around here. No, you don't see it. Oh yeah, a couple here and there. So there are people there to do research, right, on a regular basis, you know. So they have the McMurdo Station right here. You can see it. This is a map of Antarctica, all the way down to South America. You take a nice, you know, cruise from Chile or Argentina, and you can make it this place right there, you know. So I'm very familiar with this because when I was finishing my PhD in South Carolina, though, I applied for a postdoc.
Which is South Carolina?
Aiken, South Carolina. I was doing my research there. So, and then I'm ready to move on. And I wasn't really sure if I want to get a job, you know, as a professor or doing research somewhere, or maybe I wanted to do 3 more years. You call it internships, we call it postdocs. So I wasn't really sure though. So do I get a job right away though? And I abandon poverty. And I finally get some money to do something and start traveling around, or I just continue 3 or 4 more years. And then I get more training, and then I decide, okay, so let me go for a postdoc, which is an internship, and then the salary is still bad though, but yeah, you just want to learn, got it? Get more training. Then I got an interview with this guy. He was super nice guy. I read about the guy when I was in college, you know, Professor Imran. He was a Russian American guy. So, and he was doing research in the Antarctica, extreme environments, big time at that time, you know. So then I went there to talk to him. He was in Florida State University, so it's not really more than 3 hours where I was in Georgia. So I'm like, wow, you know, I can, when I relocate, I just drive, and it's not gonna be a big deal. I got a U-Haul truck, I drive there, it's not gonna be a big deal. So I went to talk to the guy. He said, I thought the research was going to be done in Florida State, right, Tallahassee. So they said, no. You had to spend 6 months at the McMurdo Station and 6 months in Florida. I'm like, what?
No.
Got it? So that's why I decided, no, I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go to this place. Then he said that you have to go into training for 6 months, how to survive in this kind of situation, extreme environments. What do you mean by that? This is cold most of the time, and you're gonna be in some kind of facility, right? Closed. So you cannot be claustrophobic. So they're going to go through psychological evaluation, just to see when you get into an environment, right, that is enclosed, and you see a lot of people around, you don't become what? Anxious and having all these issues, you know. So, and then he said after 6 months, then we train you like how to survive, how to wear, you know, all the equipment, right? Because as you can imagine, you have to wear what? Long johns and all this other gear that you need for extreme cold, you know. So, and I'm like, I don't think so. I wanted to be an astronaut, but not really that far. Got it? So the issue here is super dry and super cold. Look at this, right? The driest ecosystem on Earth, they call it. So because as you know, in winter, when you get winter weather here, what happens to the skin? Oh man, already, well, it's, you know, itchy, right? I have to put, you know, moisturizers all over my skin. And now, for the first time, I feel it all over my body. It used to be only my legs, and now it's all over the place. Got it? You know, so that's another problem. He said they had to show you how to take care of your body. Got it? When you're in a place that is so dry, and you're inside of the building all the time, though. You know, when you go out to take samples, it has to be in pairs, right? You drive these trucks and, you know, different snowmobiles, right? So therefore, it has to be always, you know, together. So I was kind of, oh man, I just stay around here. So I went to Tennessee instead of the Antarctica. You know, so The average temperature is 26.1 degrees Celsius, which is not really that bad though, but
At the
still.
place?
Yeah.
So it's not that bad.
Well, but winter, it goes down
Yeah.
to, how. They found microbes there adapted to the cold weather, and then basically the key is like you had to have some enzymes that work at low temperatures. So they found out that these enzymes we're using now for commercial purposes like what? Ice cream, everything that you freeze, believe it or not though, they got enzymes from these bugs that they isolated in Antarctica, and they can use the enzymes for commercial purposes, a lot of different things. They do it for, I wasn't really aware of this until I went to industry. Most of the laundry machines in Europe, they used to use cold water, right? So I didn't know that. I thought it was like, we have what? Hot water here, all the machines though. But in Europe, they don't use cold water to do the laundry. So, and then here, we always use hot water though. Now, if you use hot water, you have to heat it up though. So that's not really energy efficient, got it? So then using these enzymes, now you can do a cold cycle, and then you add the enzyme there with the detergent, and it helps you out cleaning the dirty stuff better, So got it? So see how things that you find here doing basic research, they can be adapted to practical applications, type of stuff. Beautiful valley. Lake Frixel, really nice lake. Look at this, amazing though, but it's frozen, so most of the time. So what they found out there, they have bacteria and archaea, not too many of them, right? They tried to can it. They did some DNA testing just to find out there are not too many, as you can imagine, right? So they didn't find any mold there. I wonder why though. Bacteria were able to grow at -2 degrees Celsius, which is not that bad to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? That's a little bit, hotter than the freezer temperature that you have in your house. So they found 3 sulfur oxidizers, again, to review the chemistry. Oxidation means what? What happened to the sulfur there? Losing or gaining electrons? It's losing electrons, right? Oxidation. When you're reducing something, you're gaining electrons, So, like water, what is happening to our body? What do we do with the hydrogen to make water? Do we reduce it or do we oxidize it?
Oxidize it. Reduce it?
We reduce it because we took the hydrogen from where?
Water. The air.
So you're making water. You sweat, you know that, right?
Yeah.
Respiration is what? C6H12O6. I go back to bio 1. You took glucose plus oxygen, and you break it down into what? Carbon dioxide and water. So your water machines walking around. I bet you never thought about that one. I'm not kidding. And the hydrogen came from where?
Glucose.
From the glucose. Got it? You know what I'm saying? So this is what you did. So you're, basically, if you look at it, you dehydrate, right? You release this water all the time, though, like carbon dioxide. The plants do the opposite. What do they do to the water? If we reduce it, they oxidize it, right? You know what I'm saying? So what do they do with the CO2? Do they reduce it or they oxidize it?
Oxidize it. Reduce
So
it?
they took CO2 and made what? Glucose. So they're gaining what? Hydrogens? Right?
Yeah.
What do we do with the glucose? Do we reduce it or we oxidize it? We oxidize it, right? So we're just getting rid of what? All the hydrogens, right? And at the end of the day, I breathe out what?
Carbon
dioxide. So just to review, this is coming soon. So this is what these guys do. Diabacillus diapers. So these are what you call sulfur oxidizers. So now there's something called the chemokline. Yeah, thinking about the thermocline. And this is the interface between 2 different chemistries in the body of water, right? So see, that's what I was just checking you out. You know what I'm saying? So you do have a chemokline in the ocean, but not a thermocline. So you have an interface for this water, and as you go deeper, what happens to the oxygen?
Reduces?
There you go. You know what I'm saying? So you got aerobic at the top and anaerobic at the bottom. So yeah, like I was saying, you got these enzymes now. We use it for different applications. Do laundry, you can do a cold cycle. When they treat some meat or they're making stuff, you actually use cold temperature. It was a pain in the butt. I remember one of my friends, this engineer guy, they had to do this pharmaceutical drug though, and they had to heat it up at 40 degrees Celsius. Can you imagine to do a chemical reaction? So that takes a lot of what? Money.
Energy.
Compared to what? If you can do it at room temperature, that's a piece of cake, man. Guys, you can mix it here, and you don't really have to worry about nothing. You know? So using this stuff, look at that. They use it for bread making. What is toiletries? Toiletries means girls like, and guys too. Some guys are like alpha males. They're like what? Grooming, and you know what I'm saying. So, cosmetics, right? What else? What would be toiletries? Soap, fragrances. Got it? I'm not kidding. They're using this stuff. Meat tenderizers. That's amazing though. Paper industry to make paper. Milk flavoring, brewing, right? Microbrewing, big time though. You know, they used to warm up the whole thing, the fermentation. Now using these enzymes, you can actually do at room temperature. And you don't really have to plug in anything stuff, right? You know, less energy, more efficient, and it goes for forever. You know, so high temperature. We have a place, you know, in the United States. You've been to Yellowstone National Park? Anybody here? You will one day. Don't worry. When you get money. You know, so, and then when you go to this place, look at this. You're gonna see these beautiful ponds and lakes. Awesome. This is why you call it hot spring. So the color, of course, I bet you can guess, is the pigmentation of the microbes, right? You know, so you can see here, now they have a fence all over. Some people jump into the water to commit suicide. Even though they have a sign there to say, don't jump into the water. Some people are jumping into it, so now they have a fence all over, so to try to reduce the numbers of people. These are really heavy-duty microbiologists, I guess. They wanted to take the sample directly, no pun intended. You know, so this is really what we call hot springs. You know, what is happening there? Well, we got high temperatures, right? We're using the one and only Taq polymerase that you put the bits today. So it's coming from this guy. So the name of the bacteria was Thermus aquaticus. This guy grows at boiling water temperature, so and that's what we took the DNA polymerase there, and we used it for PCR. That was the last question for the midterm. And some people failed it there. You know, so it's like, man. So it's thermostable. It looks like for you to be able to grow there, you had to have some kind of modifications in the cell membranes, right? The cell wall, because you cannot take the heat. You have to get out of the kitchen, basically, right? So if you're living in these kind of situations, you have to have some kind of adaptation limitations. So you deal with these, got it, extreme environments. Now, they haven't found any mold as of now. It's mostly bacteria and archaea. So that's basically the story. You know? So a lot of the enzymes that we use from Yellowstone is biotechnology pharmaceutical companies. Actually, I was using one of these enzymes in one of the companies I was working for, do a chemical transformation from one chemical to another one. So, and I was just laughing. I was kind of, oh my God, look at this stuff. So I can run these at 65 degrees Celsius, and everything is hunky-dory. So really, really amazing though. Water purification, right? The water that you drink, ladies and gentlemen. So this is really somebody else's pee or poo-poo way back. And now we're using all these enzymes getting from those extreme environments to make water purification more efficient. So you're more, you know, healthy now because you're drinking, hopefully, better water. It depends on the county. In Jersey, too. That's another one that we have to. When I was in Hackensack, the water there was a little bit better than the water that I try now in Furlong. It's a different company, different things. You know, I don't remember seeing any stuff there, you know, but mining, this is a big freaking deal. Because when you go get, you know, like gold or any minerals from the earth, what do you have to do? How do they do it, usually? Huh? You have to drill it. You have to dig it up, you know what I'm saying? So you've seen the miners? So anybody here got families that were miners before? Yeah, I don't have any miners. I got sugar cane cutters. A lot of people were cutting sugar in my family. But miners, it wasn't really the Caribbean. And then here, the people that came over, they never did mining. There was no mining in the Bronx, you know? So therefore, but mining, the way they used to do it, you had to dig it up, got it? Scoop it up though. What they do right now, amazingly, they got this bacteria in a broth. They come in a spray kind of bottle or in a big container, like a tank. You spray it all over the place. You wait for a couple of days, and then the freaking thing leaches out. What do you mean leaching? What do you mean by leaching out? You see what?
Soil leaks out.
The mineral is coming through some kind of what? Liquid is seeping out, from the what? The ground and stuff. And these people, what they have to do is to collect it. Right? It comes like watery kind of stuff, like a mud kind of thing. Amazing. And this is a bacteria either oxidizing or reducing, right, the minerals. They do that with mines, like gold mines, silver. I got a friend of mine. What's her name? Damn, I forgot her name. We went to college together. I can't remember her name. So then she got her PhD in microbiology, and then she went to do a postdoc with the Navy. She stayed with the Navy for like 4 years, and then she joined this company called Exxon. I'm sure you're familiar with Exxon. Mm-hmm. So her job was to go into different places all over the world, though, and they're going for not only oil, but what else? Minerals. And the way she did it, they have a whole department, engineers and microbiologists. They go to this place, and they use this bacteria to get this stuff out. Got it? Cheaper, more efficient. I'm sure that she's still around with this stuff. So oil recovery and mining is really huge, though, when it comes to stuff like that. So making a lot of money, big time. I'm sure that she got to be loaded. Bacteria and archaea, they found it, in these, extreme environments, right? So in Yellowstone National Park, we have Sulfolobus olfatoricus. I love the names. Sulfolobus acidocaldarius, right? Acido means what? And caldarius in Latin means what? Caldo in Italian means what? Caliente in Spanish means what?
Spicy.
There you go. So caldo means
hot.
So when I went to Italy the first time, the guy gave me the sandwich. And I said, me lo scalda per favore. That means what? Can you heat it up? You know what I'm saying? So it's not really that complicated. It's kind of similar to Spanish. So how do you say cold in Spanish? Frío. And in Italian would be freddo. So got it? So not really like people are like, oh my God, you can speak Italian. I was kind of I don't give myself too much credit because it's very close to Spanish. You know what I'm saying? If it was Chinese, then I'll be oh wow. You know what I'm saying? It's so close. You know what I'm saying? So I went there once the first time, and I was just like, oh man, this is gonna be a piece of cake. So the second time I was already like super bilingual. So I've been there like 10, 11 times. So it's like, but they think I'm Brazilian. Brasileiros, no, Españolos, oh, Brasileiros. Because Brazilian guys, exactly, yeah. And they have a lot of soccer players, right? They're a little bit kind of browny, so therefore, so nothing against brown people. Yeah. Great, next. Siberia, ladies and gentlemen. That's another place that they have these hot springs. Another bucket list place that I want to go. So I wanted to take a train from Moscow all the way to Siberia. They call it the what? Pete, tell me, what is the name of the train? From Moscow to Siberia. Vladivostok.
Oh, okay.
What is the name? What is the name of the train? They call it the what? You never been to Russia?
No. I've never heard of this train.
Trans-Siberian Express. It's a train from Moscow all the way to Vladivostok. Vladivostok is a city all the way the Chinese, frontier, because Russia is the biggest country in the whole world when it comes to land. Got it? So that's one of my dreams. And then everybody at home keeps telling me, yeah, go for it. You go along. I was like, people are chickens, you know what I'm saying?
Siberia's really cold.
Huh?
Siberia's really cold.
But I'm not gonna go during winter. I don't think so. But it's amazing though, because you can take the train and you go all the way to Russia, all the way to Vladivostok. So I don't want to go to Siberia at least before I hit the road, you know what I'm saying? So because that would be super cool. I've always been crazy about Russian geography and history, So Siberian hot springs are very similar to Yellowstone National Park, believe it or not. So, and they found the same thing, So actually I met a girl in Tennessee, excuse me, from Siberia. Man, she was drinking like a guy.
It's cold up there.
She used to say, you're a wimp. I'm like, what? You can't drive vodka. I was like, I like vodka. She's like,
oh.
Oh man, I was just like, I got a couple of drinks of vodka. I started like singing in Russian. It was just it was terrible. And I tried Russian bread, right? Really good, the black one. You know, just
Oh,
like
yeah, right.
super cool though. Yeah, I love it. You know, so they found the first photosynthetic bacteria, thermophilic. What do you mean thermophilic? Super hot, right? And they can actually do photosynthesis. That was really a rarity because we never saw any organism that can go all the way to boiling water temperature and it can grow and it can replicate and it can do photosynthesis at the same time? Yeah. So this is the one and only Candidatus colostobacterium thermophilum, first photosynthetic acidobacterium. Incredible, though. Really, really crazy stuff that you can find there. And that's why we know that when we send probes to the moon and all the satellites, and you might have life in these places now. Nobody's skeptical about having life on Mars anymore.
Yeah, did you hear what they recently said? Like, there's like something about like 40%. There's like oxygen that or like water or something. That was like crazy stuff.
And then there is a moon, is Saturn. They call it Titan, one of the moons.
Yeah.
It has liquid methane. It's lakes and oceans of methane, which is minus 320 something degrees. It's freezing, exactly. Water is frozen, but methane is liquid. So, and they think that there might be some kind of either methanogens or archaea there growing in the stuff, you know. Because the methane is being replenished all the time, though, got it? In Mars, there's another problem. There's methane coming out and oxygen too. So they're thinking that there got to be something replenishing, got it? You know, the methane and all sorts of stuff, though. And it might be deep into the what? The soil, though. It isn't going to be on the surface because what happened to the surface? Mars doesn't have an ozone what? Layer. So it's being bombarded with what? X-rays and UV light from the sun, though. So life, I bet you, is gonna be on the ground, though, you know. So and it's gonna be prokaryotes, man, to rule the universe.
Do you think there's like a possibility that there'll ever be like another planet like Earth?
Oh yeah, we cannot be the most intelligent thing in the universe. Then the universe is really fucked up.
I mean, there's those aliens.
You know what I'm saying? God forbid. That's what I do believe that there's something, because we cannot be the most intelligent. We're third. No pun intended, you know what I'm saying? If we're the most intelligent thing in the universe is really fucked up. You know? That's my opinion. And now I don't think it's gonna happen. Now the problem is though, is the distances.
How will you get there?
They're insane.
Yeah,
The
let's get
distances.
there.
And maybe, and this is just speculating, if you look at the way we have the biological systems here, I cannot communicate with bacteria, or I cannot talk to a dog, I cannot talk to animals. So maybe there are other things or beings more advanced than you, but they cannot communicate with you. Because the way we talk to each other is by sounds and alphabet. And in biological system, that's not the way most of the things communicate, right? It's through what? Chemical signals, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So therefore, the kind of communication that we have might be what you call something very rare in the universe. So look at the way we look at ants, right, and monkeys.
Yeah.
So these beings, they're more advanced than you. They're gonna look at us like that, though.
That's why aliens don't like us.
If I was an alien that I can travel, why do I have to communicate with you guys? I think I look at human beings, I will be laughing on my ass off. Because number one, I'm not kidding. They look at you like you're looking at people sometimes, not people but animals, got it? That you say, well, because what is the advantage for me to reach out to you to try to communicate with you? The only reason why the Europeans came to the New World or Asia and Africa when they expanded, what was the reason? Money, trade. And if you have technology that's so advanced, what is the advantage for me to go and do trade with you though? Because I don't need it. Okay? You know what I'm saying? And then they wanted more lands. The Spanish, my ancestors, and the Portuguese, and all these European people, I mean, they came over here for what? Money. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that they wanted to preach the gospel. Yeah, right. And then they brought the slaves, my other ancestors from Africa. These people in Africa didn't want to leave. They were very happy there though. So they took them forcibly, right? Why did they bring people? Because most of the natives in the Caribbean, they were destroyed. They died. So in South America, you don't see a lot of black people. But in the Caribbean and these islands that they lost, most of these Indians died though. So you had to bring these people from other places forcefully to work. So if you're an advanced being that you can travel, why do you want to communicate with people that are so what? Backwards, when you don't really have the need to conquer them because you have resources. Got it? So the only reason why people were like reaching out to each other back in the days is because of the money. Got it? They wanted to go to conquer things, you know, right? Resources, money, but if you're at a stage of evolution that it doesn't really necessary anymore, so why do you want to even? So I would just look at you and I would try to study you, but I will never interfere with you though. Because I know that if I bring you this reality, that's going to mess up the whole thing. See, I'm a Star Trek kind of guy. That's what I say. The Prime Directive, they call it. In Star Trek, you know, it's a science fiction show, but in a way it's good. If you deal with a civilization that is less advanced than you, you don't touch them. Yeah. See, Europeans, all they need to do is to come over, look at the native have been here, leave them alone. Let them evolve, right? Develop the way they want it. But no. They came over to take the money, right? Spain and England, these people, they came for the gold. That's the reason why they went to Afghanistan too. Remember that? And India, for the gold, for the money, you know. So now, if I don't have that incentive for the money, so I don't touch you. I let you grow as you grow. You're developing right now, all of you. So you're in your 20s, you know, early, you know. So my job is to give you the tools so you can develop. You don't see me trying to interfere too much. What means what? Criticizing you too much or trying to disturb you too much like some professors did to me. You know what I'm saying? So, because I had to let you grow. You had to find your own way. I'm not kidding. So some of you are going to change, I would say, in less than a couple of years about what you want to do though. Some of you are shooting for medical school. I got a couple of my, you know, good old, you know, environmental microbes. They came back, they said, I don't want to go to medical school anymore. So got it? So you let people find their own way. So unfortunately, that's not the way human beings operate. You know, so microbes are the same, got it? So you don't see microorganisms getting into any place. They're more decent than human beings. Think about it. You know, so why bacteria get into these diseases and you gave me these, you know, microarray presentations? What was the reason to get people infected? Was it to hurt them?
No.
What was the reason?
Try and cure them.
Huh?
To try and cure them originally.
Why bacteria went into the body?
Food.
To get for food. They want to replicate. That's the only reason. There was no intention of them to get you sick, though.
No.
Right? So when I got sick, sometimes I thought, I understand, guys. You're not trying to kill me. I'm just trying to survive. Got it? You know, so the Atacama Desert is one of the driest places. We get that desiccation is terrible, though. If you've been to Chile, and that's another bucket list. I don't have a lot of years ahead of me, so I have to try to rush it as soon as possible. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, this is gonna be amazing. They got the biggest, you know, copper mines in the whole world. Anybody here from Chile or nearby? Peru, Bolivia, Argentina? No. So this is supposed to be an amazing place. I've seen quite a few movies, you know. So, and it's super dry and super hot. So it's so hot and so hostile that NASA goes to this place to try all these instruments and probes that they're going to use in Mars. Because this is really mimicking kind of the same situation that you see on Mars, you know, so incredible. So they go all the way there to the Atacama Desert to try it. You know, so super reddish, you can see it, and it's because of what? The copper and the minerals make this, you know, sand and the ground to be kind of reddish, you know. So now bacteria, I don't have to tell you, and the microbes, they have a hard time growing there though. And most of the time, the way they grow it is inside of the rocks. This is insane. And I did a little bit of stuff when I was in my PhD. So you gotta go to these rocks, you know, the crevices, and you have to scrape it. And that's why you find these microbes, you know. So they call it lethobiontic microbes. So these guys, evidently, it has to be a combination of what? Bacteria and some kind of algae. So the algae gets the CO2, fix it, right? Makes sugars, and then the bacteria use the sugar, break it down, make the CO2, and they live together there. It's a kind of community though, because it's really hard to live on a rock, as I bet you can guess, right? To get stuff out of it, you know, so it's really hard. It's a lot of minerals, you know, so they have some minerals that they're very unique and special: dolomite, granite, you know, gypsum. My mom have a granite dining table. How can I forget? You know, so, and it was insane. It's very hard, really pretty. They call it marble too, right? You know what marble is, right? You so really, really pretty, really nice, really hard to eat, that kind of stuff, but some of these guys, they can do it. A lot of these algae, they're resistant to desiccation, and they can take these high temperatures and UV light. So there you go. How can they make it through it? They have to have the ability to repair the DNA, right? Because they're getting this UV light hitting the cells all the time. And it's kind of the same thing that we have in the skin. You can go to the beach for a couple of hours and you won't get burned. Or you're still there for too long and you don't use sunscreen, what happens? Got it? And then if you keep exposing yourself like that every day, though, you can develop skin cancer. Right? So we have some repair enzymes to repair the DNA. But this guy got even a better system, got it, to overcome this kind of environment. So really, really super cool. Though. So, like I said, they use that situation to mimic what is happening on Mars. So the best way to survive in these extreme environments is to make a biofilm. We already know that. We went over this one a couple of times. Why so great? Well, the food is going to be available, right? So you don't have to hang around too much, though. You're going to be protected against, not only antimicrobial agents like UV light, desiccation, right? So you can see all your bodies are there, too many, and then you can exchange food and genes in the same location. So we had these deep sea hydrothermal vents. I don't know if you're familiar with it, deep in the ocean. So this was really something amazing that came out when I was halfway to my PhD. Look at this. They always knew there was some kind of underground volcanoes deep in the ocean, but they didn't know what was the purpose of it or the reason why this was popping out, though. And now, you can see right here, they call it black smoker vents. You go all the way. It's really deep, 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 though. And then you see these smokes coming out, and they went there with a submarine, which was really, what was the name? Alvin. I remember because they got a National Geographic special about that. I was like halfway to my PhD, So look at the temperature here, 380 degrees Celsius. So the submarine was able to take only 2 people, very tiny. So the guys went down, they kept going down, they saw the smokes. And then, of course, you have a flashlight, right? You turn the light, they're looking around, and they look at this. I'm like, wait a minute. How come you can have crabs and shrimps all the way down there, though? And they kept going around, and they saw this. You know what I'm saying? And they were like stunned. Even though these guys are not really biologists, they were oceanographers. What do you mean oceanographers? They got PhDs in marine biology, no marine biology, chemistry. And the reason why they went down there is just to study what? The smokes and the volcano, right? So they figured it out right away. They said there's something really wrong here. Because we're so deep in the ocean and it's so dark and there is no what? Light. So how in the hell all these organisms, these are animals though. Forget about bacteria, they weren't even thinking about that. How in the hell they can stay there and sustain some kind of food change? Remember that, Bio 1 and 2? Because they know that everything here starts with what? What's the beginning of the food change on the surface? Huh? Primary producers. And who are those guys? Photosynthetic organisms, right? Plants. Where the hell did I came from? There's no light here. It's so dark. And they thought these were supposed to be like plants. So these looks like some of the stuff that my mom used to grow in the back of the house. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've seen it. So they thought these were plants. So they took samples of this stuff, and the shrimps too. So they brought it to the ship upstairs, and they found out this is a plant. This is a freaking worm. What? You gotta be freaking kidding me. So, and there is no mouth, no gut, no digestive system. So they were like really, like disturbed, mentally disturbed, because number one, look at this. They went all the way deep into the ocean, right? So they found all these crabs and shrimp and all this stuff. So how in the hell this system is being maintained, like he was saying? Where is the primary productivity here? There's no light, right? So who's doing photosynthesis? Or some kind of what? Carbon fixation. So then they found out, start looking at different things. Holy cannoli. Sergey was right. Remember this guy from the first day that we met? He was a father of environmental micro. He found out about soils and chemistry in the soil, chemoautotrophic bacteria. When they look deep into the tissues of these worms, because remember this guy's got no mouth, they found something called the trophosome. It was like an organelle, and inside that thing they found some bacteria, chemoautotrophic bacteria. So on these bacteria, look at this. They're doing this. Chemosynthesis. What? So they're taking sulfur. Remember the smoke? That's a lot of sulfur there, super hot. They have carbon dioxide from the water, and they're making glucose for the worms. So the worms do what to that? The worms break it down into what? Got it? They do what you call anaerobic respiration, So the carbon is coming from these bacteria that they're fixing the carbon using the sulfur that is in the water. They're not using H2O, right? We're using what? Remember that? We breathe what? The glucose, right? In order to live, respiration. So plus oxygen, so we're making water. So the plants take water plus CO2 to fix it. So these worms take the sugar, right? And all this stuff. And then the bacteria, they make the sugar for them. And they work together side by side. And that's the way they support each other. So this is what we call chemosynthesis. For the first time in history, we know, that was 1980 something, that a system can be supported in the absence of light. That was a big freaking thing. Because everywhere we look, there's always primary productivity based on light, right? Photosynthesis, either bacteria or plants. But here, for the first time, and that's why people said, forget it. We'll find life on other planets sooner or later, because see, this is the way life adapts in this place. So, and this temperature is super hot too, right? So, and this is what we call chemosynthesis. They isolated the bacteria finally, not on the plate. Impossible to grow on the plate. They did what you did, 16S RNA. They look at the sequences, they blasted the whole thing, and now we have the one and only Verivibrio stagnipomentis. So this is one of the guys that is inside of the worm that is fixing the carbon dioxide through chemosynthesis. Incredible, right? So this really rewrote the law for everything in biology when it came to not only micro, but ecology and chemistry. So, what else is there? No, excuse me. Now, this is the way the worms were feeding themselves. But what about the shrimps and all these other guys? Got it? So they didn't find the same thing. What they found out, there are 3 different ways to feed yourself inside of these deep, dark, waters. The second mechanism, they call it microbial gardening. Look at this. The mussels and invertebrates, they have these appendages, right? Tentacles, gills. They grow the bacteria on them, and they come over and they eat it from them. So this is like gardening, they call it, right? So you put in the bacteria, some kind of biofilm there, and they feed themselves that way. They get the bacteria from the water. The third mechanism, look at this. The crabs, what is an amphipods? What are the amphipods? Any invertebrate people here? What are those? Amphipods. Yes, small shrimp, right? The fish, what they do, you've seen it, they go through the water and they feed straight from the water, got it? So you can see these are 3 different ways where you can get carbon. Either as a worm, I got the bacteria inside, through chemosynthesis, they provide the glucose that I need. You can do gardening on your tentacles, or you can feed straight from the water. So awesome, amazing. So, acid, like I was saying before, these acid mines are really good, super acidic, very deep. And what they do, they use the bacteria to leach out all these minerals. So you don't have to dig up stuff anymore, you have to drill it. You come with the culture, come with the spray, you have to see the tanks, it's like the gold busters, and then you start spraying the stuff all over, then you wait for a couple of days, and you come back, and it's leaching out. And you come over, get the gummy stuff out of it. Really, really super cool though. It's really like, what was the name of the guy from the Ghostbusters? One of the cartoons, what was the name? It was like a slime.
Oh, the green slime guy?
The green slime guy.
Yeah.
So what you see is like the slime coming out of the wall of the cave, and you come with a container and you can collect it. So you don't have to drill it, you have to dig it out though, and this is what you call acid mining. You know, so incredible though. They do silver, gold, copper, you know, all kind of materials, you know, really incredible. That really reduces the cost of mining, as you can imagine, and it's safer because the miners don't have to do what? Drilling all the time. A lot of the accidents in mining is due to what? All the drilling is shaking, and then the whole thing collapses, right? Not anymore though, it's always safer.
In West Virginia, a lot of the miners, like, just because they don't have like jobs like that, they take a lot of unsafe jobs just to make some sort of money.
Well, they got explosions sometimes there.
Yeah, no, like I know it was a 60 minutes I was watching it, and there was just like a bunch of people who lost their lives because like also like all of the chemicals and stuff, they don't have like
Oh, they had to bring black lung, yeah, I know.
Yeah, so they were just showing like that just for a living, they were taking these unsafe jobs that the companies don't care about.
There's nothing else around.
Well, the things that the companies don't care. They know that all these people are not gonna get a job anyway, so I'm just
There you
gonna go ahead and take advantage of it.
And people are very reluctant to relocate. It's very easy to tell people, oh no, but you should go somewhere else.
But the thing is, like, I feel like people like in Jersey, I feel like we could relocate like really well. I don't know why, but like people in like I feel like once you like leave Jersey and go like south and stuff, they don't want to leave where they're from.
Most of the people
Is
in
that
the
how-
world,
you
they don't
think
want
like
to
that?
leave the neighborhood. Most of my friends are still in my hometown. I bet you the same thing with you. Whatever you came from. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not from Jersey and you came from another place, right? So I mean, one of the projects that I have on Facebook now is like what? I reconnected with some of my friends from high school. But they're still in high school. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I
so
mean?
true.
You know what I mean? It's just like, so, and I'm like, and they're all, I was kind
Still drinking and-
oh yeah, the same mentality, and they're like, oh my God, so you don't eat meat anymore? So, oh my God, you're not Christian anymore? I was kind of not. I said, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a shock for them to see where I am right now, compared because they never left my hometown. They never went to college. They never, you know what I'm saying? And I've been all over the place, you know, so I'm not the same high school person, but they're still the same. So they had the same experience, you know what I'm saying? So when you leave your hometown and you go and you see the world, that's gonna change you, you know what I'm saying? So therefore, you see the connection. Most of the people don't leave. Got it? So I tried to fly my father so many times to here because he wanted, one of his dreams in life was to go to Yankee Stadium. Right? He was a huge Yankee fan. And he went all over the place with the United States Army, you know, brought to you by the United States Army, but he never came to New York, you know what I'm saying? So I said, I got the money, man, I fly you over and let's go to Yankee Stadium. Oh no, I keep postponing, you know, so no, don't. But he was very scared of flying.
Oh.
So, and I said, come over, but he was the kind of guy that he wanted to stay local, got it?
Yeah.
He didn't want to go anywhere, you know. He went to the Army because that was the way it was. So, but then I said, come over, let's go. You know, I get the tickets. I even got the tickets a couple of times, you know. So you will see, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna, oh no, don't worry about it. So then, bingo, got diagnosed with cancer, out. You know, in less than a year, he was dead, you know what I'm saying? So take a message, you never postpone anything in life, because you gotta do it, you know what I'm saying? So most of the people are local, got it? They never venture. And I never understood that. I thought he was going to be more proactive, but he was a very local person, you know, so that's the way it is. Great, mines. Talking about West Virginia. So they actually use this in some of those mines. So you can see most of the bacteria that they use to leach out are mostly related to what you call leptospirillum. So for the test, it's open-ended, right here, 100%, but still, when I grade the stuff, I mean, that tells me what?
Five tests for open.
Yeah. That tells me what? They don't even know how to,
Or do we know?
they don't even know how to look. Hallelujah. So I got 2 semesters in a row that people did actually worse
On the final?
on the final, even though it was,
Easier? Open.
no, it wasn't easy. Open
But
book.
that's a problem.
Can you explain that to me, you? Because I still don't understand
But
it.
that's the problem. Like, because it's open.
Why is this happening?
But we have
So I
like-
did that in Bio 104 once only, and it was a disaster. You know, so I'm like, what the hell? You know, so you have to see, everybody's like jumping around, and I told them, You cannot check all the questions, right? Only check the ones that you're really, kind of doubting about it. So I was stunned. They did worse than the second test. So.
It's because like
You won't do that though, I hope.
you never know.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Wow.
No, I think that's common. To be
Brutal.
honest.
Think about it. What was the problem there? I don't
It's
understand.
because you don't review anything. So like you give them like what 80 questions, 100 questions.
No, you're gonna be less than that.
Okay, you give them like 60. They try to review all the questions and try to find out if they didn't study. So you don't have enough time.
All right, guys, we're good. I'll see you next Thursday. This coming Thursday with another.